So the first shape we're going to make is sort of like a soft rectangle, but I'm actually going to call it a marshmallow. Because I want it to be sort of soft along the edges. And you don't have to draw these lines really hard. Just sort of sketch these lines in really loose until you get a nice marshmallowy type shape. So next we'll add some ears. So what you want to do is, so you have the top of the head here, you want to go a little bit below on both sides and just sort of make a circle. Whoops, I'm on eraser. Just sort of make a circle coming off like this. You want to try to get them similar sizes. You could always copy and paste the circle on the other side if that's easier for you. And this one's a little high, so I'm just going to bring it a little lower. Don't forget, you can always adjust with the little ribbon tool and just go to freehand. And that way, if you need to, you can adjust. You can make them a little smaller. Things like that. You just want them to be fairly the same size and the same sort of on the same plane. So for this little gap here between the head and the ear, we're just going to make a little curve like that. Now we're going to make a straight line. Again, you don't have to make this line very dark. You just want a straight line down the middle. So that's going to be one of our guidelines. We're also going to make two guidelines in the middle of the ear, straight across. And we'll also make one at the bottom of the ear. So just make another guideline on that plane. And we're going to take this same distance and we're going to make another one below. Okay. So now we're going to make two circles in these sections, and we're going to favor the middle line. So we want the bottom of the circle to touch this bottom line. And just match the other side. Again, if you feel more comfortable, you can always draw a circle, hold. If it's more of an oval, then you just do edit shape and you do circle. You can always do that, and then you take the selection tool and you can sort of bring it up here. And you can put the eyes in like this. Okay, so now we're going to start the nose. So this bottom point of the eye where it touches that line, we're just going to make another line to the middle of this section. And now we're just going to make a dome over this. It's going to go right through our eyes, but that's okay. And then we're going to take this center point right here, and we're just going to make two shallow arcs, almost like the top of a heart. So next, in the middle of this section, we're going to make a diagonal line, and it's going to be roughly around the same length of the nose. So we'll start here, and we'll just make a diagonal line up like that. It's okay if it goes out a little bit past his nose. And now we're going to make a curve with a little swipe at the end. So I'm going to make a curve like that. And then I'm going to make a just little line coming out at the end. And on this side, we're going to take this midpoint and we're going to bring this curve around to the edge of his mouth. And we're actually going to make this line, but we're going to make it maybe a little bit higher than this line. So we're just going to put it right about here. So now we're going to make a slight curve going along our bottom line. And we want this to be around the same length as the nose. So just a slight curve, and then we'll touch the corner of the mouth there. And then we'll go from about the middle of this curve, and we'll just come down to the corner of the mouth. So now we're going to make one tooth here. And I'm going to make it round just so he's not so menacing. Make another tooth here. And then I'll make a little curve in the middle, but very shallow. You don't want it to come out too far. Okay, so now I'm going to go from about the middle of this section, probably around the middle of his cheek. So one is up here and one is here. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm just going to kind of go straight down with a little curve to it. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go straight down with a slight curve to it, and then I'm just going to round out the bottom. Clean up the bottom a little bit. All right, now I'm going to use this bottom line here. I'm going to make that really thick. So I'm just going to make that like 5 times as thick. Mostly on the bottom. I'm going to make these parts a little bit thicker, but most of the thickness is going to come down here. Okay. So I'm just going to go over this line a little bit darker. And I'm just going to get rid of these lines inside because we don't need the lines from the circles for the eyes inside. We don't need the center line inside. So I'm just going to get rid of those for now. So now I'm going to use these circles, and I'm going to put another smaller circle inside, but it's going to be attached to this part of his nose. So essentially I'm just making a circle with almost a full circle. And just be careful not to stretch it out like that. You want it to be nice and circular. When I'm making these circles and sketches, I usually do it really light until I really get the circle I like and get the shape I like, and then I just start pressing a little harder. That's why you hear so much movement. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to take this point where this outer circle meets the nose. I'm going to bring it all the way up here. So I make a curve going up and a curve going out like this to this line. And I'll do the same thing to this side. Make a slight curve going up. I'm going to bring it down. I'm not going to bring it down to this line on this side because the cheek is very high up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a curve like that. So that's the only difference. This one is straight. This one I'm going to make a curve, and I'll just clean it up a little bit so you can see it. Make it a little bigger. So this curve is his cheek, so that's just because this part of his mouth is up so high. So now I'm just going to kind of recreate the top of this arch right above it. Oops, got a little messy there. I'll do the same thing over here. Just sort of recreating the top part of that line. Okay. And you can erase this line if you want to clean this up a little bit, just to kind of make these shapes nice and clear. You also don't need this line anymore, so I'll just clean that up. Okay, so now I'm going to bring these ears over. And they don't really have to be circles, so I'm just going to bring this part right to this marshmallow line here. I'm going to make an arc, sort of from the center and just going off to the top of the ear. I'll make this circle a little darker. And now I'm just going to do just 3 little round things. It's just supposed to look like hair inside of his ear because they have very furry, bushy ears. Alright. So now what I'm going to do on this side, so on this side of the cheek, I'm just going to make it nice and round. And I'll use that guide line on the bottom. And this one is a little higher, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make it nice and round, and then I'm going to stretch it out to that same guide line. I'll clean this up a little bit. Alright, so now I'm just going to draw a little line very softly here. That could sort of be the top of his head. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of make a shape that sort of reminds me of a toothpaste. So I'm going to go up, over, and it looks just like that, the toothpaste commercials. I'll make a couple little Now this you can make like any shape, really, but I think that the toothpaste shape is a very nice shape for the top of his mane. Then I'm just going to come off the mane from here. And just sort of connect this to his ear. Just so it has a nice round. The top of his mane is nice and round. Okay. Now down here, I'm just going to bring it around. And you can do a lot of different shapes. What I like to do is kind of make it come out a little bit. And then sort of come to a point at the bottom. And I'll do the same thing on this side. It comes out from the ear. And then bring it around on the bottom. As you can see, I draw really big on my canvas, so I'm gonna shrink everything. If you want to shrink it, you want to be on uniform. So now, I'm just gonna do a little bit of details for the eyes. So what I really like to do is I like to make a thick line, sort of along the side, the top side of the eye. So I'm just gonna make another thick line on this side. Then I'm going to make two arches on the bottom. But I don't have to go all the way across because his nose is there. So it's just going to go right into the nose. All right. We might add eyes later on, but for now, you can go ahead and add in some eyes. Just because it's nice to look at him with some eyes. So again, you want to favor the middle with even with the eyeballs and everything. You want to favor the inside of the nose. You want to favor the center line. Alright, so now I'm just going to erase the marshmallow because we don't really need it. And there's a lot of ways you can sort of tie in the bottom of the mane. You can make little lines coming off like that. If you want, you can give him a few hairs on his head. Maybe some little chin hairs is better. Alright, hope you guys like the lion. Please experiment. Make it your own. Change things. Change as much as you want. There's a lot of things you can change. There's a lot of animals that you can sort of make out of this by just changing the nose or changing the mouth or changing the ears, changing the mane. Make changes to it. Have fun with it. Little things that might look weird to you, change them. That's the beauty of it, is I can draw this lion, and every time I can draw it a little bit different, and I can improve on things that I don't like. So hopefully this was fun. This is my first time doing an animal sort of like this, so structured. Like a cartoony animal, just so structured like this, without a reference. So if you guys like this, I can do a bunch more animals. I'll just kind of come up with them, and then I'll work out a system, and then I'll try to explain it as simple as possible. So thank you guys again for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that I get to see your work. Alright, thanks guys.